Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. So happy to be here once more. Again, my name is Erica from Enjoy Erica Art Studio. And today we're going to be creating this lovely summery dragon scene. We have a little bit of a background and lake here as well. And we have some supplies that you're going to need. I'm using some mixed media paper, a little bit more heavy duty than just your standard paper. We have two sizes of brushes. I have 1/4 inch, or this is a 1/2 inch, really, 1/2 inch round brush and a 1/2 inch flat brush. And we also have several colors of acrylic or watercolor that you can use. So you're going to need, this is like a creamy, almost beige. You can also use white if you don't have that. I have some black, I have some dark navy, some orange, and some yellow. Of course, for our sketch, you'll need a little pencil with a little bit of an eraser in case you want to do some edits, and a cup of water and a paper towel. Anytime you use water, you definitely want to have paper towel handy. And today we're going to get started with an easy sketch. So we're going to grab our pencil and find the center of our picture. So it's really important that we find our center because this dragonfly is pretty symmetrical. So I'm going to use 2 dots here when I figure out about where the halfway point is. And if you're not really sure, you can always kind of bend your paper in half and kind of guesstimate. Okay, that's the center. So I'm going to put the center dot, and this is just going to be a guide. And then we're going to come down about 2/3 of the way. So it's about 1 hand from the bottom. I'm going to place a dot here, and that's going to be our horizon. So as you can see, we have these 2 dots to represent this half of the page, and now we're going to come 2/3 down and create this horizon line. So I'm going to just go ahead and sketch straight line across, connecting those 2 horizon dots. And then we're going to gauge how big this dragonfly is going to be. So if you see the head of the dragonfly, it's a little more than halfway of this section. So this whole section of orange, we're going to come a little bit more than halfway from this bottom, and we're going to create a dot. So I'm following that center dot here, and the space is a little bit more than halfway. I'm just going to place a dot here, and that's going to be the start of my dragonfly head. So that's going to be the dot represents right in here in between these 2 eyes. And then you have about 2 fingers from the bottom. Following that center line, 2 fingers. I'm just going to place another dot. And that's going to be where the tail ends for the dragonfly. So we kind of just spaced out how tall this dragonfly body is going to be. Now let's space out how wide. So this kind of wingspan ends a little bit at an angle away from this point. So I'm just going to gauge a dot in about the same space. So if this is the top of my eyes here, I'm just going to travel at an angle and just place a dot here. That's as wide as I want to sketch that wing. And then same on the other side at an angle. I'm just kind of putting these dots just to get the space correct. And if it's not looking like my inspiration, I can always adjust it. I want this a little bit longer. So I'm just putting some dots here to gauge the space, and that's just to show you where I'm placing my dots on the page. So that's wingspan number 1. Then wingspan number 2 comes down a little bit. It's a little bit further out, but it's going to start about here. So that's going to be as far out as we come here. That's where I'm putting the dot. That's going to be at the end of this little wingspan. And then I'm going to gauge at an angle over here a little bit further out than this dot. So you should have these dots kind of guiding your space. So once we start the sketch, we know how far to go and then to circle back around. Okay. So we're going to get started with the body first, and then we'll draw this kind of circle outside of the dragonfly. So to start first, I'm going to start off with 2 circles kind of next to each other. Literally just writing the letter O. And you want it a fairly large size. And then the next circle below it is going to be kind of curved off, just like so. And then the next one is going to be just a hair larger. So the next one, this is going to be a little bit larger. And then all the circles after this one are going to start going in a smaller size. So then we're going to proceed all the way down to about here, just a little bit above the horizon line. So I'm going to stop there. Once I finish my circles, we're just going to continue to sketch. And it's a curved line. I'm starting off the edges. I'm not really overlapping too much. I'm trying my best just to round out. And that looks good. And then I'll bring my tail down to that dot that we had before. So I'm just sketching the line, just like so. We have ourselves a nice long tail and some body rounded bits. So now we'll come out here from the top and create a line for the antenna, which is just like a little curved line, almost making like an R shape going one way. Just like so. And now we're going to come starting off this larger like abdomen looking piece. I'm going to start towards the top of that and start coming out at an angle going towards that first dot. And we're going to create almost a straight line that's going to start to curve once we get towards the top. And again, we're going to come back around and make our way back towards the abdomen. So it's going to go out to the dot and then come back in and connect back to that first circle. And then just repeat on the other side. So starting towards the top of the circle and coming out. And I'm using short lines to kind of get this sketch together. I'm not trying to do the line in one shot. Just like so. And I'm just evening both sides out, making sure that they look similar in size. So that is one. Now for this next wing, it's going to start off a little bit more flat and then kind of have like a bit of a triangular curve shape. So I'm going to have that in mind when I do my next sketch. And the next sketch is going to start towards the bottom of that abdomen space. And I'm going to go across and now start curving down and coming up. And I'm going across to the other side, curving down. And then kind of curving up. And you see that little triangular space. Now, if it doesn't look like that perfectly, you can always come back and adjust it with your eraser and just erase it. Make it look a little more symmetrical. And I like the way that looks. I'm just going to adjust this little curve here. And there we have our dragonfly. Here's a little bit of a close-up of how the bottom wings are a little more triangular and the top ones are just more rounded. And that's our inspiration, just to remind you what our inspiration looks like. Now we'll get started on our horizon, just creating a little bit of a triangled mountainous space here, just this little curved line almost going up and over. And then we'll create a big sun. Now the sun can be whatever size you'd like. It's a full circle sun. So we'll start towards the bottom here. And I'm gonna try to gauge, how big. I want to kind of move the sun and have it go through the center of the wings. So I'm just lining up to see where the center of the wings are here and just creating like a little guide to kind of keep me on track when I start to draw the circle. So I kind of just take my hand and with some short lines, just slowly start to move in a curve to kind of line up with this line here. And then I'm going to turn my page around to kind of give me the same help here. So I have this curve happening. So I'm going to pretend like almost like a compass. If you ever used a compass and you start here at the center and the line just kind of turns around, I'm just going to sketch. I'm getting pretty close to the top, but I'm not touching the top. I'm going to use this guide here to help me complete the circle. Just come back around. And so I have that part of the sun. Now just come down this way and just having this kind of my hand in the center while I kind of curve my line around helps. And that's my sun. And you can just adjust it. You want it more rounded than egg shape. And that's all you need for your sketch. So you have your sun, you have your horizon line, you have some mountains on the side, you have your dragonfly done, and that is our inspiration, just to remind you. So next you're gonna need your flat brush to get started with the painting. And we're gonna get started from the sky. So the sky is gonna get started first. So I'm going to take some of this orange, put it on the side, and scoop into some of this yellow. Create a lighter orange, not as harsh as this dark orange that I have here. So yellow is going to lighten up. And then the stroke that I'm going to use for the sun, when I usually do a sky, I like to go left to right. But for this particular piece, I'm going to start brush strokes at an angle. So it's like I'm painting away from the center of the page. So if this is the center, I'm painting away all my brush strokes. So we have that happening. So with this 1/2-inch flat brush, just taking my acrylic paint, and you can do this with watercolors, colored pencils, anything you have on hand, really. And again, I'm just taking that yellow and orange mixture, and I'm painting away from the sun. I'm getting as close to my drawn lines as possible. Again, if that's the center of my sun, the rays are kind of pulling outside of the center. So now I'm going to start angling them down since I'm pulling away from the center. Get as close to the edge as possible. And we'll continue the orange all the way around. So it almost looks like a sunburst by putting just this color at an angle. So if you're coloring with a colored pencil, you want to color in this same way too, so you can see the sun kind of expanding the light. Getting as close to the lines as possible. It's okay if you go over it. We are going to go over the sun with a little yellow. But this is just a lighter orange, just a little mix of yellow and orange. Just to lighten up the orange we had on hand. And just continuing that if this is the center, we're going to pull these lines outward and as close to the horizon as possible. Lovely. And that is the top half of our picture. I'm just gonna get any of these little pieces we missed. So that was step one. Step one was getting that base orange in. And now I'm just gonna come in with just some yellow and create some dimension lines here. So just gonna add a little couple of just plain yellow this time. I cleaned my brush. I'm just gonna have some of these rays kind of show up in between here, just like so. So we started with that lighter orange base and then came in with a little yellow to create some rays. And then next is just some yellow to get into this sun here. And I'm just following the curve of the sun, get in between those wings. There's a little gap. Standing my brush kind of perpendicular to the page and just softly pulling just to create that little gap of yellow. And then retracing the edge of the drawing. And then pulling the color out. Trying not to fill in the dragonfly. I am going to go over the wing, the antenna. Because we're just going to outline that in black. And the bottom corner. Again, still trying to have that sunburst pull out the color at an angle. And get as close to the dragonfly as possible. I have like a little, following the edge of my brush, I'm just kind of going around as close as I can. We are going to use a darker color for the dragonfly, so it's okay if I go over the line just a bit, but you do want to get as close to the dragonfly as possible. Again, I'm going to use this edge to kind of help guide around those little cornered grooves. And there we have our sun. A little sun action. Little sky action. And then next we're going to create a highlight. So we're going to start with a little bit of this white again on this 1/2 inch flat brush. And I'm just going to stand it perpendicular and we're just going to kind of move in with some lines. And these lines are going to just come in to the left or right of this tail here. And some are going to go a little bit further out, a little further in. And you won't really be able to see it too much. So you do want some white happening here. So I'm just going to continue just to pull some strokes across with this beigey, creamy, vanilla white it's called. And bring it all the way down to the bottom of the page. So just a little close-up of that cream color. You can kind of see this is going to be a pure reflection of the sun. So I'm just going to continue to get as close to the tail with this white as possible. And then pull out. Just like so. Some areas a little longer than the other, but it's not a perfect kind of look. just have some, this would be longer, this next section is a little shorter, and it's not even on either end. Each side has its own little personality happening. So you'll see it come more once we get our base color of the blue on here. So the next color is going to be just this navy blue I have. I'm going to load the brush, which just means pulling some paint and swiping it across just like so. So I'm going to load this. This is just that natural navy color. And we're going to introduce that navy color the same way we did with the white. I'm standing my brush a little perpendicular and using some lines to pull the color across. And I'm not going all the way to the end with it. I'm going to kind of stay in this section, also making like a little column of color. But I am going to come into the area where we painted that white, again loading some more on my brush and just swiping across like so. That's that side, and repeat on the other side. So again, left to right, coming in, and now you'll really see that reflection kind of taking shape. You're just coming in at certain areas a little further, leaving some long blank areas, just like so. You can go back to the other side, fill in any of those blank spaces. And we're just holding the brush again perpendicular, but sliding your brush left to right to create that bit of movement. Just adding another layer of paint to this side. And then we're going to create a little bit of a darker shade of blue. And the way you're going to do that is I'm going to literally just have a touch of black. So if you can see, it's literally just a small touch. And I'm going to start creating a darker hue of that navy. And that's going to come in here in the next column. So that's going to fill out using the same perpendicular method and just coming in left to right. It's creating a shade lighter of that blue just by putting a touch of black in there. And swiping again left to right. And again to the other side. Swiping left to right with my brush, kind of hold it flat but perpendicular and swipe it left to right. You can again use just a colored pencil, watercolor marker to create the shade. You could just put a little bit of a light touch of black and layer right over it. Just getting this last little corner and then blending a little bit where these two shades meet, these two blue shades. So just swiping across, just like so. And then last but not least, we'll be taking the black by itself. Again, you don't need too much, just a little touch goes a long way. And just creating some interest here on the horizon. So I'm going to start here and follow my way up the mountain. And again, just holding my brush flat like this, but swiping left to right. Create some land with some black here. Some lines. Something lives there. A little piece of land lives there. We'll give a little corner touch like so. And now the other side. Again, swiping along the horizon, coming up on this little mountainous area. Again, I'm loading my brush by swiping across the color and pulling now. Just like so. And then creating some swipes here. Little swipe there. And just have some pieces of that shadow look like land for our water. And now we're going to come in. That was our 1/2-inch flat brush. I have my little round brush here. Round brush is going to help me do a nice little light yellow highlight. And the way I'm going to do that is mix this vanilla white color with some yellow. I want it definitely a little shade lighter. And we're just going to come in and kind of introduce a little yellow happening of reflection. We definitely want that white in the background because it just gives it that luminescence, super bright looking feeling. So we have this yellow just coming in and refilling these little light sections happening. And I'm not perfectly refilling. I'm leaving some white happening in the background, just like so. Okay. So I'm looking at the size brushes that we have here. I think I'm going to introduce, you don't already have something thinner just to create the lines and shapes a little bit better. So a thinner liner brush will do. And this is what I have on hand. Usually bigger spaces, you get bigger brush marks. Smaller spaces, you use a smaller brush. I'm going to just come back into my sun here and just go over my pencil line, just recover that. Just want to make sure that it gives off that like bright sun feel. So I'm just going over the pencil line for just more coverage. And then we'll get started on our dragonfly. So that is our background so far. We have the dragonfly and the embellishments on top. Next, I'm going to clean this thinner lining brush and get started on some blue. So this navy blue is going to be my best friend for this dragonfly. And if you can see the dragonfly wings, they're not all particularly blue, but we're going to start off painting the whole section blue and then layer on top some highlight and some darkness with this black and orange. So starting off with this blue, we're just going to go and do a basic fill in for all the sections. So get that little blue and just retrace all the little sections all in blue. And try to stay inside the drawn lines as good as possible. I'm just dipping into the color. I'm not really loading my brush. I have the body covered now. I'm going to retrace my drawn line first. So just basically using the tip of the brush to kind of go over what was already drawn. And then fill in. And I'm pulling away. From the body. With a left to right stroke. And then again, now around to trace the sketch. So just tracing our drawn line. And then pulling the color away from the body. Just like that. Again, retrace the lines that were drawn with the blue. Just to get a good clean edge. And then once they're retraced, just pull toward and away from the body. And last wing, retrace. Going around, retracing the drawn line, cleaning up the edge, and then pull away. Like so. So the tail's going to be black. I'm not going to fill that in blue. And the antenna is also black. I'm not going to worry about that just yet. All right, so I'm going to clean my brush really well, dry my brush. And now we'll be coming in with some of the black. So I have my brush here. I'm going to dip it in a little bit of black. And I'm just going to start with a couple of sections that are going to get some black highlight. So to start off first is going to be this little curve. We're just going to retrace that curve with a little highlight of black. So we have two little curves of black there. Then next we have a triangular shape. So another little dip. Kind of wipe off some of the excess and load the brush this time. And we'll just come in for a little triangular shape. So we're going to freehand a little triangle here and then just let it come down a little thinner. And there, and same thing on the other side. Just a little bit of a triangular long shape. Then with a thin black line, we'll come here towards the top. Thin black line towards the top. And then move that black now towards this bottom here. I'm going to fill in a line here. And fill in a line here. And then we're going to create a little highlight bubble towards the bottom. So this is more filled in rounded bit here. A little bit larger, like so. Then a little line going towards the top. So you want to see up close what we have going on so far. We have a line towards the top, a line towards there. Then another triangular little bit. It's a little more than just a thin line, a little bit bigger. Two curves on the edge here. And then a line on top with a bigger bit towards the bottom. And two lines off to the side. And that's for the black on the wings. The next step is to now outline the antenna So this is the sections that we did so far. Next is to do the antenna and the tail. So we'll load our brush again, a little dip in the paint and a couple swipes across. I like to also twirl my brush to a point just to help out. And I'm going to come in now and just retrace the antenna. I'm pulling towards the body. And then we'll just kind of create a thin highlight of black, or rather the light of black underneath the circle. So it's almost like we're scooping under each shape. So I'm starting to just retrace. And then I'm going to create, for this line, I'm going to turn it to a point to make it easy to create a line. And I'm going to pull away from the body like so. So I retraced all the circles and pulled away from the body. And then we're going to create more highlights. So the way that you do that is we're going to clean our brush and we're going to come in with that darker blue color. So that blue that was mixed with a touch of black, we're going to need a little bit more of that. So if you ran out, go ahead and mix yourself a blue with a touch of black. We want it a shade darker. And I'm going to now load my brush and twist to a tip. And we're just going to touch right above that black line we drew. We're just going to try to draw a little shadowy bit right above a little section here. A couple of lines here in that darker blue shade, just to give some texture. So that was just your darker bit of blue. Just a little scoop above on the body, if you can see. And then on the wings, those 3 little marks, get a dark blue treatment. Okay. So next would be the embellishments in some orange and some yellow orange, and that's going to be done with some orange trace around the sun. So we're going to do a little orange trace around the sun. Very lightly. And we're just going to come through some of the painting and just create these little accent lines, starting from the center and pulling outward. And I'm not filling the whole page, this is just the orange. I'm just coming every so often, just pulling like so. And now I'm going to come and put some little dots, kind of following the little lines that are drawn with a dot before or after. So you can see the dot before or after. And now we'll just come in with just some bright yellow and orange. And then we'll do those in between as well. Some yellow, why not? Feeling inspired just for some yellow. Little sunburst lines happening. You can do what makes you happy, alternate with dots, lines, anything that you'd like, really. Just adds to that sunburst effect, like so. And now the white highlight last, this vanilla white highlight that's happening to complete the picture. Okay, so just to explain what we did with these last colors. Whoop. Heart's still a little blue, but just a reminder. So inspiration we just went through with some yellow, some orange, some yellow orange. We created these little marks, these little explosion, and had some dots in between as well. And then we had these little accent pieces still left. So we're going to do some white vein looking pieces for the wings. And that's going to look a little like this. So with the white, I'm going to load my brush. So swiping and then twisting to a point just to make it a little easier to work with. The initial first sections that's going to get this little white bit is going to be a dot on the little top right parts of all the little circles here. So the top right gets a little dot happening. And we just want to come with a little bit more white here, just another little layer of that reflective white happening. And then we'll go to the wings. Just kind of retracing the white here. And now to create what looks kind of like the veins in the picture. So this black doesn't look completely dry. You do want the paint of the black to kind of be dry. I'm going to start off with this side. This right side is still a little bit wet. But we're just going to kind of go right below that initial black line and just freehand a straight kind of line. And then once you get that section right here, you're going to kind of curve it down. And again, a little curve down. And you're just creating almost like these leaf looking veins. Starting off with 1, 2, 3, and again at the bottom. And just pull some white across. And here, here, and here. Pull some white across. Just create slightly my brush. And pull some more vein here and here. All right, and once I have that complete, then lastly, I will continue to go in this little section with some yellow and some white. And create almost like a little lighter highlight around the whole body of the dragonfly. Just to give it that little glow look. A little white there. And then we're going to come in lastly with these little bits of orange accent. So I'm going to dry my brush well, come in with a little more white and get these lines a little whiter. So this is the second layer of white, just because I really want them to pop. So I'm coming in here, just like that. Coming in here. Because when they come with the orange, I want it to kind of show up over the white as well. So a little bit of extra white will help make this orange a little more visible. So I'm going to load some orange onto here, just like so. Just keep swiping and then twist it to a point. And then you'll have just a little bit of that sun orange kind of reflecting on there. A little on this first curve. A little dripped there. Little hint here. And there you are. You have your dragonfly ready to fly away into your summer adventure. I see a little drip happening. I'm just going to cover that up with some yellow. And then, of course, when you're finished with any picture, you're not complete until sign your name. See somebody in the chat real quick. Oh, it's Gerard. Hi, yes. Keeping us up to date, Gerard, with your pop culture knowledge. Alrighty, so you're gonna finish your name. I'm gonna use some black again. And a little signature means you are officially complete. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to see what you guys came up with. This is my dragonfly interpretation. This is my inspiration of what we had. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.